Hey there, it's Alex. We're going to do another Alex James Hislop diary entry. This is going to be Alex James Hislop diary entry sorry. We're going to be doing another Alex James Hislop diary entry content. This is going to be Alex James Hislop diary entry content, December 5th, 2019. Content. So yeah, we're going to talk a bit about some of the stuff that's been happening on my end. I'm a psychic medium. I speak to spirits. They speak to me. I can discern them in multiple capacities. One of which happens to be within my mind. The other happens to be open channeling, and also automatic writing, things of that nature. I've been able to feel at times a certain kind of energy channel through. It's a little bit different than, I think it is a bit different than trance in a certain sense, but I think there's also similarities in regards to both. Trance, I think, has oftentimes been associated with meditating and achieving a certain kind of vibration. And I think there's also a certain kind of taking over in a certain sense regarding certain kind of infrastructure, spiritual, in a certain manner to relay communication and things of that nature. And I think that there is some similarities in regards to that pertaining to channeling. I have felt like this is open channeling in regards to my right hand. I can feel spirit move in and move that movement. How cool is that? That's one of those things that I think should be I talked about probably more often in this process in a certain context. Yeah, so we're going to talk a bit about what's been happening the past couple weeks on my end. Let's just see here. Let's go to my diary entries. I also keep recorded diary entries in digital form as well as written form. Some of the written form isn't like I haven't written. Like some days are missing in regards to written form, but the digital ones are fairly they're updated fairly regularly. The last time I did one of these, I think, was on the 27th, 2019. I'm not fully certain, but we'll go back to that and talk about it. At one point I believe in good. Some of the stuff that happened, multiple changes in regards to angelic energies coming around me in different kinds of discussion pertaining to inspiration. In regards to who we are, I don't know if I'm going to start talking. We already did a big review in regards to this one to a certain extent, but this day I did have a lot of different kinds of talked about inspiration. There was a moment yesterday during told me when they told me the bad guy, like some past life I had something. Yeah, some of the spirit at times has lamented upon this idea that in my past life I might have been a bad character, in a certain kind of sense, and I'm hoping not, in a certain manner. I certainly don't want it to be shaped into having a bad life upon this ripple effect in this life. Although I would want it to be shaped, I would want to shape my past selves that main spirit guides indicated to live good life, to be good, in a certain sense, in a certain manner that main spirit guides indicated. It's one of those things that I feel is a decent and I would want to have happen. And specifically, if there's certain lives within the past that I have lived where I was more brimstone or things of that nature, I certainly would want there to be a certain kind, I would want there to be a certain kind of impact, if possible, to try and change that direction in a certain manner. And I know there's some spirit guides are advocating for what main spirit guides indicated for us to advocate in regards to the aspects pertaining to myself and others from main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. It does matter. I mean, we talked about all personal, at times. And one of the things I've noticed is that there is spiritual infrastructure and anatomy behind the scenes that exists in multiple capacities. And I do feel like I do feel like that we do have an impact upon them. I feel like that our lives, that what we live and how we operate in a certain sense matters greatly and does bear an impact in regards to certain kind of all personal, some of which we might not consider other dimensional selves. But I think that it still does matter greatly. Imagine that there's a consciousness in regards to certain, well, I don't know about consciousness. Yeah, imagine there's a certain kind of spirit or a certain kind of incarnation in regards to different kinds of body parts and things of that nature. Imagine there's a certain kind of incarnation in regards to your eyes. Imagine each eye, and even in regards to, for some, for both. That sort of stuff that says that there is incarnate fellows. That's how some people say it, and I think that's a great way of letting know. But there's also other things too as well, in which potentially doesn't have to do with incarnation, but some do, shoehorned in there to a certain degree, if need be. Yeah, so I mean, this all personal and aspects of all personal, I have felt to be affected at times. This was a bit on today in regards to what I've talked about. There was these moments where I felt well, there's these moments where I felt like there was certain other dimensional being affected in a certain kind of manner, and there's been moments where I've noted that there is different kinds of machinisms that affects behind the scenes infrastructure and other dimensional from the physical in a certain context. I think some of it's being facilitated from other spiritual in regards to certain action attachment, and then it being said potentially to be physical in a certain manner. But I think there is some that is physical in nature and natural in regards to it to a certain degree. And there's also, there was something that happened yesterday where there was a bit of a let know that it felt like there was like a bit of an impact in head area where I felt like certain kind of spirit in regards to myself and a certain kind of infrastructure behind the scenes had been impacted to a certain degree. And I didn't, I did an advocation. I did, certain advocationals throughout the day, but it was one of those things that they said that there was a certain kind of like a certain aspect and perspective that was essentially looking brain dead in a certain manner. But I did even write it down. I'm wondering if there was a great healing in regards to it or something of that nature. And I think that there is certain spirit who do facilitate certain kinds of things behind the scenes in regards to entertainment. Some of it, can be done through us at times. But I am, a little bit hesitant in regards to some of the other dimensional stimuli in regards to it at times, which can feel like there is certain kind of, attack and other dimensional bodily harm happening in a certain kind of context. But, there is some of us that are, tethered in regards to certain kind of setting. There is some of us that are... some of us that are also that we have other dimensional existences in regards to ourselves. I know there is that information in the spiritualist communities that sort of says that we are a dimension, in a certain kind of manner, depending on how you look at it. And just because you're attached to a certain kind of setting and things of that nature should not affect, passing on in a certain sense. There is safeguards in regards to it, and should be in a certain manner. But there is those kind of lives, and sometimes this has to do with certain kind of famous, in a certain sense. That's usually one of the common variables, actually, to a certain degree. But I don't know if it's usually, but it is one of the common variables, at the very least, to a certain degree. Because it's not always about fame. Sometimes it's about other things as well, too. And I think that one of the things that I noticed yesterday, again, was this movement of infrastructure be moved. And I'm wondering if some are trying to facilitate a certain kind of interaction, a certain kind of entertainment in regards to it, behind the scenes and other dimensional or whatever whatever it might have been, to a certain degree. But I'm not fully certain. And some of it, that sort of thing, then to say like there's miracles taking place and why certain, miracles shouldn't happen, that doesn't make any sense to me. We should still be able to do certain kind of miracles and miracle works regardless. I mean, it's one of the things that a lot of people look at and say, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. More, if possible, for some in front of the scenes on this physical planet Earth, in regards to saving people and curing cancer and all that sort of stuff. Heck yes. It's one of those things that I feel is decent to a certain degree. I think there's a lot of people that agree. And yeah, there is spiritual moving and shaking behind the scenes that, some of us don't know about, that if we did know about, would, maybe change the variables, maybe not. Because again, if you knew about other things, it probably, I guess it would vary to a certain extent. But one of those things, I think, in regards, is that, there is certain kind who like to be entertained in other dimensional, I think. And it's not that unheard of. I mean, you think about it in regards to your own lives, and hey, you throw in a movie, you sometimes chill out and go on a marathon, Netflix and marathon. I mean, it's like, how does the form of entertainment actually work in regards to certain places? And understanding some of those variables, you might be a little bit, you might be a little like there's some stuff that I've noticed as a psychic medium in regards to some of the darker places, but also some of the seemingly regular places as well. They can seem a bit scary to a certain degree. But yeah, I think that it's one of those things that's I think we're still protected from it in regards to some of it, but I think that people should still be entertained. And if it's neither, well, that's a shitting problem, now, ain't it? I kind of think it is, to a certain extent. So, I mean, one of the big things that I talked about was content experiences, content experience facilitation, um, access in regards to certain dimensional areas, creation of other dimensional areas, to be able to facilitate this kind in a certain manner, to be able to facilitate entertainment, but also quality of life. It's one of those things I think that can be decent in a certain sense, to a certain degree. Yeah, so yeah, I think that one of those things that's been talked about at times is entertainment, and where the lines are in regards to certain kind, in regards to ourselves, uh, pertaining to certain things. We want to be able to be entertained, but at what point does that cross certain boundaries in a certain sense? And I am one of those people who believes in entertainment. I am one of those people who believes in recreation. I choose recreation in a certain sense, in a certain manner, over certain kind of industry and having to work. And I am one of those that goes like, once you're like right at the top, those who move and shake a certain kind of power in the original setting. I am one of those who says that, you have that kind of power and you should be saving everybody. And I know some people up there hate it, they despise it, they dislike it, they turn off the TV, they do whatever the heck they do. But it's a common opinion. It's a big one. It really is. And then there's people who say, should we have to work? To a certain degree, and a lot of people say no, we shouldn't have to work. But what's interesting about it is, what's that variable that says that once things are all situated in regards to certain things, let's say there was certain kind of instantaneous saving happening, what exactly would it be afterwards? That hump would be over, and then we just have to maintain, right? Maintenance. But how much maintenance are we dealing with anyway? All right, okay, correct. Because you don't know why. You just and it's not meant like that. It's not meant to be upsetting in a certain sense, good sir. All right, you don't know why. All right, because I do it in a decent manner, and this is like another common variable is there is people out there that do want certain kind of spirit, even dark spirit, to be able to have a quality of life, to be able to experience the experiences that they wanted. And I think that another one, maybe less so, but maybe just as big. It might be just as big. This sort of thing that says that video game facilitation, content experience facilitation, holodeck program facilitation, and computer facilitation, other kinds too, dimensional existence creation, regarding certain kind who proceed in their lives to do certain kind of violent acts to be able to facilitate that way of life. Because if that way of life is bigger than what we think it is, if that way of life exists in multiple capacities, then figuring out ways to be able to coexist is a decent. I know that that's our one group. This is the thing of this. So we want to work together. We want to we want to mend. That's what we want to do. And it's just like, we don't want to forget about those getting left behind. We don't want to forget about those who are getting, that's really it. But it stops at a certain point. And what the interesting thing is that they don't. Now you look at it from that lens, and a lot of them don't want people being harmed from that direction to a certain extent. So it's interesting that because there's been a bit of a stigma in regards to that certain kind that say, hey, if there's immoral cultures out there and moral cultures out there, and some work together, compromise in regards to certain things. And somehow there's a bit of a stigma that says that some that like that direction or try to facilitate that direction are somehow the bad guys. No. Well, that'd be why. And I've been one of them who has been upset at times and seemingly on the cover. I go with what Meat Spirit Guides indicated ultimately, but have at times been upset in regards to certain directions and have said that some are the bad guys. So I do apologize about it. I don't mean to be upsetting. But it's one of those things, because this is what they wanted to pull. And Alex didn't hear any of this. Well, this is the caseless, though. All right, well, that was the case of it all, though. You know what? Because that's just what he said. This is like the kind of stuff that happens. And that's why we talk about too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm glad that there's so many cooks in the kitchen that people are safe and protected and defended to a certain degree. And at least there's a lot of meals getting out there, you know. I don't know what to tell you, but it's one of those where I've sort of noticed that behind the scenes spiritually that there is that sort of thing where certain kind of nations and certain kind of percentages and certain kinds of concepts sometimes are proceeding in the direction that they feel is the best direction, and it's clashing, and what's being lost in the mix of it, and shouldn't be at all, is, you know, citizens and regular people and civilians, that sort of thing that says that, you know, their quality of life takes a hit in regards to this butting of heads and disagreements, you know, in regards to what direction is best. So, I mean, it's one of those things that I said, okay, so just, you know, why don't we look way up above to that, in which says the aspect of the original creator that from Spirit Guides indicating the original light, to just solve it like he has done for eons, right? But some say no, that's a bad topic point, that we shouldn't be speaking about that sort of thing, and that we should just shut up and continue with certain directions. So, I mean, you know, at what point do you not go and say, okay, so if the original creator is, you know, still around, he's in many different places, and he is trying to protect, but he's going a certain fashion on it. He's a maintenance, a utility. Well, he's a spirit and a god potentially in the ways that main spirit guides indicated in the light. Some do consider him God, and some consider him a spirit. And either way, there are things in regards to him that should not be going out of play to a certain extent, to a certain degree. And it isn't, because there is safeguards. You talk about a powerful being that has a lot of different things situated to a certain extent, and then that would be one of them. And wouldn't it be, hey, Alex? Wouldn't that be? No, good sir, it would not. For freak's sake, what is this? And I love how it's like, oh, well, this is the case because there's been a conversation about certain spirit below certain thresholds. That's like, what? We're just too buck wild? Is that the case of it? Talk about buck fucking wild. I mean, that's what that would fucking be. That is insane. That's what that is. It's absurd. It's outlandish, right? Outlandish. Now that's why. Maybe it's facilitating another culture. Seriously, responsibility. For freak's sake, you talk about me and me getting my life done and doing all that sort of thing. What about that? That's the bigger topic point. Holy shit. It was, you know, talk about that sort of thing. The point was is that putting a certain kind of variable, a certain aspect of the original creator potentially, you know, being a bad spirit in a certain kind of sense, but also facilitating it to be in a certain manner is just scary. Why the heck? No. No, in a certain sense, there are ones that are not, but there are ones that might be and are, I think, in a certain context. In a certain context, depending on what aspect of the original creator you're talking about, in a certain sense. And in regards to that sort of thing, it makes sense. It makes sense that if that culture emerged in multiple kinds of ways, that would exist to a certain degree. But the aspect that I'm talking about is that one that could take back all Godspark in a quick amount of time. I mean, how many years physically would it take? Not too much to be true. You don't think that there's safeguards and things in play to be, like, you don't know why, because some of the incarnation that some are looking at and saying is like, you know, we'd have to wait for him to get back. If they wanted to, they could just painlessly transport him back to the areas that main spirit guides indicate in the original light if they wanted to. But but it still remains that they are choosing a certain direction. All right, fine. And what direction is that, Alex, for those who need help? It's a good question. All right, yeah, you know what? It is a good question. You don't know why, because they come at you. Whew. All right, yeah, but there's still that sort of thing. And in regards to that, where that aspect would be negative, or, well, not necessarily negative, but bad or immoral, is something that's scary. I think some people would look at it and say, like, what? You forgot? Well, you know what? I don't know what to tell you, though, bub. I mean, there's a thing like that. All right, fine. You don't know what? There's also people who don't adhere to that sort of thing in a certain context. Well, all right. Okay, correct. You don't know why. That's what you said here. I don't mean to disrupt certain kinds of let knows or informational for what's acceptable, but I do mean to talk about a certain kind of issue. And in regards to certain kind of things, I think to look at it from a realistic, a certain kind of realism, a certain kind of realistic. If you're talking an insinuation is what was insinuated, then you can't expect my response to not be that in a certain sense. If, all right, fine. Am I literally having to talk my way out of this? Seriously, if, all right, fine. You don't know why. Because that's what they all say. We talk about certain kinds of lines. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm not looking for people to be berated or harmed in regards to certain kind of direction or feelings in regards to certain things. Look, people feel the way they do. I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those things. People have different opinions in regards to multiple kinds of topics and themes, and it's one of the great things about the original creator, I think, to a certain extent, is that he has at times been one of the ones in regards to talking about some of those themes, trying to work through some of them, specifically for some of it in regards to certain aspects of the original creator pertain to that in which is immoral. So, I mean, for example, I mean, when we talk about certain kind of spirit within a certain society, you know, that within physical earth-based society, that there is certain kind out there that exists. There is certain kind of, you know, people who attack one another. There is certain kinds of people that like fight culture, who would be okay with certain kind of gladiator sports taking place in a certain kind of manner. And I'm actually one of those people. I think so. I think I am one of those people. I like gladiatorial sports. I wish that it didn't have to end in somebody's death if they didn't want to be, and in their quality of life regarding to be up to snuff. And I'm like really good, you know. So you know, that is one of those things to a certain degree. It's one of the topic points because you don't know what they tried to do. It has been brought up here a couple times actually. A little bit of an overload in regards to some of the topics and themes being brought up here a little bit now. That was sort of one of the kickers, because that's the case of this. That's what they said. They said it was bad. The stuff that went everywhere? There was a moment earlier where they brought up something where there was a certain kind of spirit that spread out in a certain sense. I don't know, but they depicted it as well. The stimuli I experienced was they were labeling it to be a god in a certain sense. So, bit of a lot. No, I don't know. Like, this is caseless. Question marks? Anybody? Yeah, pretty much. There was a moment where I was at Tim's, certain kind of well, it's a coffee shop. That's what it is. But there's nothing wrong with fast food. It's fast food. It is fast food industry, that sort of thing. Tim Hortons. I'm advocating for Tim Hortons to be protected. I know there's fermented guides are advocating for what means for God's chose for us to advocate in regards to Tim Hortons. I know there's fermented guides are advocating for what means for God's chose for us to advocate in regards to smart application, etc. Fermented guides pertain to the fast food industry, pertain to earth-based, the way we just needed. So it's one of those things. I'm asking for clarifications to be displayed. Where in regards to what the way So it's one of those things where I sort of noticed that in the midst of it all, one of the things that did happen that I noted there was this thing where it kind of felt like a moment where God was, where some were trying to. Well, someone said something in my mind or infrastructure or something let know that maybe he was like spreading out in certain areas, like going to certain areas, different areas. And then they brought up certain kind of things afterwards that were like, see, you think about Reservoir Dogs, you think of angels and that sort of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I do, but I don't know if it has anything to do with it. So this is one of those things where, you know, mobsters and angels? I don't know. I don't know if it is or not, but it's one of those things that needs to be understood. And if it has anything to do with it, because it might not. There's different kinds that exist out there. There's different kinds of gods for certain. There's different kinds of mobsters that exist. Yeah, I mean, they're all the same. Jesus. There is that sort of thing in regards to certain kind of concept, a culture. You know, if you go to a certain kind of concept that exists in regards to all that is, it's probably, you know, in a certain context, it's probably massive. I mean, when we go to like hugging, all the hugs that have ever existed ever, anything to do with hugging? Is it one of those too? Or, yeah, well, that's the thing of it. Well, in a certain context, true. So talking about hugging, the words of hugging, the actions themselves, it's a certain kind of parameter in which when looking upon, and you can't see all of it potentially because there is things blocked out, but there is certain things where if you look at it, that is huge to a certain degree. And you'll see these other ones where there's certain concept bubbles that lend towards the overall one. All right, okay, correct. Because that's what's taking place these days. So they're saying that there's a certain streamline happening in regards to a certain kind of power utilization in regards to the past week on my end. And I'm wondering, they looked at me in my power level, but also a grouping of spirits and on our power level in a certain kind of manner, in a certain context. And I'm wondering if some are saying that there is some wild events taking place, partially of which needs to take place and is taking place to try and get rid of that event that's taking place or supposed to take place, and also B, try and get rid of a certain kind of power in regards to certain kind in a certain manner. Now, if the light and setting that main spirit guides indicated runs down what main spirit guides indicated regarding that power, I think it's fairly clear that that is not necessarily the route to go in a certain context pertaining to, listen, spreading out the power is one thing, but taking away the power and nullifying it, say it shouldn't exist, is, for some of it, is another. All right, okay, correct. You don't know why, because that's how you went with us, because you did. I mean, you hit it right on the marker. This is the case list. And so the other one that they let know of was a certain kind of thing that was taking place in regards to gladiators. Gladiators exist in the spiritual good, sir. And in regards to certain kinds of sporting events, and they did let know of all five of them, that being football, American football, hockey, basketball, and baseball. That there is, in regards to a lot of some of the facilities, certain kind of content experiences in regards to gladiators. So, okay, if not all of them. So it's that sort of thing that when you go to the sporting events, that spiritually there might be a certain kind of viewing at times in regards to some of it, depending on who you are, depending if you want to view some of that stuff, and some of the spiritual around you might want to view some of that stuff. That might depend on what they want to view too, in a certain kind of context, depending on who it is, to a certain degree. They do it in a certain fashion that's safe, all right? And me saying and talking about it shouldn't impact it negatively in the ways that mean spirit guides indicated. Now, I do want to impact it positively. That's how I feel about it. That's who I want to be. That's who I am in a certain sense. And in regards to my own self spiritually, in regards to who I want to be, if there is spirits behind the scenes that are not with that, I choose what mean spirit guides indicated regarding. All right, well, whatever. That's good for you. All right, you don't know why. But yeah, there's that sort of thing, and it's fascinating to see that you go to a basketball game and you never know if there's going to be you never know if there's some gladiator sports taking place, but there's other ones too. You think about Circus Maximus, the Maximus, that sort of thing. Chariot racing, it's classic racing. Come on, it's one of them. This is the case of this. No, racing is good. Go to the track one day. Friggin' heck. I need to. I want to wear a colorful visor. I'll bring a small poker set too, just in case. All right, then fine. You don't know why. Anyway, out on the racetrack just speaks of gambling. I mean, it's the real true. There's something there. I don't know what to tell you. And it's a good thing to a certain degree, because there's a lot of betting at times behind the scenes. And yeah, I remember going to a sporting website, Bet365, to a certain degree is amazing. I know that's what you guys are out for, what you guys needed regarding. But, it is one of those things that kind of reminded me of certain kind of betting culture, that sort of thing. It says, is he going to drink the glass of water to a certain extent? Imagine a physical in his house, and he's thinking about drinking the water, but then he kind of like, no. And you can see behind the scenes for some of the spiritual teams trying to get him to drink the water and not drink the water. Are some of those spirit teams going to make it past a certain kind of line, or are they not? And there's certain commentary, this is the kind of stuff that could potentially it's some of the stuff that exists behind the scenes. And, been placing bets in regards to certain kind of thing, there is a way to do it where, there is, I have noted at times, difficulties that in the ways certain kind of, certain spiritual reaction and things of that nature. I'm not blaming the crowds, but I am saying that I don't know if it's gambling per se that's a problem. Because you think about it and the things that happen, it'd be one of those things that I would always want to still exist. Gambling is one of them, and another one is that I do believe I don't believe in that sort of thing that says that you should be able to pay for sex. I am one of those people, but it's in a certain context, consensual. Those who want to be sex working and that sort of thing, that sort of stuff. I'm not looking for a certain spirit to be forced in those situations. And I'm not looking for bad circumstances either to happen to get people to go that direction. I am looking for quality of life regarding, in a certain sense. Those are two big ones that they tried to take away from you. Well, I'm not taking. I don't know. Why would I take it? No, those two are awesome. Well, then that's it. I haven't been blaming gambling. I haven't been blaming, the whorehouses. Jesus, whatever, whatever. The intimacy working. That could work. All right, intimacy working, huh? Well, there is such a thing. Those are two that I like. Three, actually, gladiator. We should always have a gladiator friggin' game going around me at all times. That's kind of how I feel about it, to a certain extent. But there's all the positive ones, too. How many other positive ones can we be doing? I mean, all that sort of the vivid color and journey, adventure, all that sort of stuff as well. I mean, we can have sectioned off in certain manners. We do. Look, this. All right, well, that would be correct, Alex. If that was it, then this is over. That's what they said. Because you don't know what that one is when somebody does that. And you don't know why. Who would do it? No, that's not. You're supposed to, certain spirits are supposed to be there to safeguard people from getting to that point. Look, and it's not exclusive to the good spirit, good sir. It shouldn't be for some. For some. Is that what's supposed to be? Is this the case of this? All right, you don't know why, because this is what they say. Look, I am appreciative in regards to certain spirit feng shuiing my process and trying to help me to a certain degree. But, I'm also wondering if there's a bit of a stickling in the mix to try and screw with not only me and others, that mean spirit guides indicated. And maybe there isn't. Maybe there isn't at all, but wondering about it shouldn't be affecting it to such a degree to have it happen. For sure as heck not. All right, then fine. Well, and whatever then. And you don't think that that's the case? Like, I don't know. There's certain spirit who are trying to say that I'm not worth it behind the scenes in my head area. I'm trying to change it, but it's just not happening. So I don't know what to tell you. Some of it, I feel that way in a certain sense. Look, I'm like one of those, okay? No, I'm not. No, I am not. All right, then fine. Those are three big ones. That's the case of this. So you could be that. That's what it says. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, is it a life utilization difficulty? Is it another dimensional self difficulty? Is it a stealing difficulty? And tell them, no, it's not a mixed bag now, is it? All right, well, whatever then. You don't know why, exactly. Because Alex knows that he likes that stuff. Yes, I do like that stuff. And there's multiple people that do. Look, there is such a thing as certain kind of facilitation of sex working that can work in a legal fashion within society. All right, we've seen weed become legalized, and decriminalization pertaining to certain kind of sex working has happened in certain places, and there's probably a legalization in regards to certain countries on this physical planet Earth. But you take a look at it can be facilitated. It has to do with something else as to what the difficulty is. Some don't want us to experience some of those things. Some want to blame that sort of stuff. We got less to do with it. We got more to do with what? Something else. Don't know what to tell you. And I don't know. That's where we are at times. Just to let you know. You don't know why we're over here on this. That's how we all felt about it. He said, screw it. Screw that. What are you going to say here now, Alex? And that's why. It would be why, Alex. The glue that holds us together. I and others from Mr. Guides are asking for the glue that holds us together. Information that means need to be displayed where needed, the way needed. And you would look at some of them like, what? What? Super frack? No. All right. Well, listen. Go with what Main Spirit Guides indicated. Maybe that. Oh, yeah. I would like to see what his Main Spirit Guide said in this situation. What would they say? What would they choose? What is this? Hey, I don't know why, because there is ones like that. And you don't know why, because you do. Because that was what Alex said. He's like, why? Listen, how about that? Instead of having to facilitate what it is over here, why not facilitate content experiences, facilitation of ways to be able to facilitate that immoral culture in a certain fashion? Well, who says that we can't be still together? Gaming existences? You don't think that certain kind game with each other in certain places? You don't think that what does it always have to? It doesn't always have to be that way. There's different sects of immorality. There's different sects of morality. All right, fine. You don't know why? Yes, that is correct. You don't know why. Am I like? I'm not that. No, I'm not. All right, for some of it. All right, no. You know why? Because I'm wondering if they tried doing that to you. Try to get you to live some big life out in the stars, Alex. Wouldn't that be it? I hope not for some of it. That's what they all laughed at. That's not funny if that took place. You understand that that's not vented fully. Not yet. It might not be fully vented and when I get back in a certain manner and do vent. All right, what the? Oh. There's people who don't want to leave. And you don't know why, because they have taken those lines. It's that sort of lines where they look at higher God spark and they say, they claim certain things that somehow, certain God spark deserve to take my things by claiming higher God spark and saying they're of the same God spark in a certain sense. But what I'd be interested to hear what that God spark has to say to a certain degree. And the God spark that means spirit guides indicated regarding this mark application, etc. Guides later on in the moments that means God is needed. Yes. Yeah. You don't know why. Because you wouldn't like this. Because for once you were digging. And you don't know why. Because that's the only reason why. I don't know if I'm looking for certain kind of spirit to dig. You're not looking for certain spirit to have to work certain things. Well, I'm actually looking for this, that sort of thing that says it's just done and fixed. And then you don't have to fucking waste your time having to dig. Right? Well, whatever, that's true. But if it doesn't happen, then I should be shouting into the rooftops at least once a day. Not always, but, at least one here and there at least. I mean, that's also it. I mean, there's just a certain kind of facilitation that's being ignored to be able to situate certain things, certain people trapped in certain areas. I mean, wait, isn't this a rescue operation or what? Is this just we'll get to it when we fucking please? I don't know what. I don't know which way. You don't know how it works. Are they okay? Are they safe? Are they living quality of life? Some are and some are not. Okay, so then that would be the difference. I mean, at what point did the light just say in certain areas, in certain situations, we're just going to leave them behind and not fucking save them? I mean, specifically, and at first it was just, if they're not the bad guys? And then what next? What was it next? If they're not in those areas? Because some crappy decision there or some decent decision that somebody made to get them there, and you look at that consent that you went through that's the thing of it. Did we really consent to that? Because I'm wondering about that too. That's one of them. AJH Radio Free Earth on that ish. That's what I feel. Well, all right, Ethan. You don't know why, because I wanted to see how long we could do this, and that's just it then. That's the case of it. Well, I think that it was already situated to be true, bub. Right? Fine. You don't know why. That's how we feel. This was the case of this. We were being deprived our rights, Alex, because I was never told in regards to some of the stuff that changed, first off. And they said some things changed, and I don't want certain kind of spiritual around me being affected to such a degree for some of it. This is the thing of it. I care greatly in regards to those being able to gamble in a certain sense for some of them. Some of them are supposed to be in recovery, and that is the true. Those that mean spirit guides indicated. All right, fine. But some like to gamble. I don't think it's a gambling problem for some of it. Look, I don't know. I mean, speak to those that mean spirit guides indicate. That's what you wanted to go with. Yeah, to a certain degree. I'm adding for the recovery. I used to watch shows once on A&E, and it's a really cool program. They got recovery and that sort of stuff, and then they do it in a decent fashion. I feel. I think spiritually they do it in a really decent fashion. I think that is the case of it. All right, fine. You don't know why. I'm fairly certain. All right. I think that some can discern the difference between what problematic it is and what addiction they have. I mean, you have two, that's really it. And when it gets mixed in with motivation, I know it can be difficult. I know it can be a different story, but I think that maybe resources regarding. I mean, if we add that sort of stuff that says that we've seen, there's some old gray wizard looking through the mythologies of holograms, and he's like, over here, this is the case of this. I'm fairly certain. Well, that would be correct. Well, that would be why. I and others from Spirit Guides are advocating for what main Spirit Guides indicate in regards to smart education, etc. from Spirit Guides regarding those that may discuss negate, the way we discuss negate. I don't find it acceptable that certain spirit get attacked in regards to my actions, non-actions, etc. from Spirit Guides, specifically when I haven't done anything wrong for them to no. It makes no either way. Even if I did something wrong or didn't, they still don't deserve to get attacked for it. All right, fine. Though that's what certain spirit at times have no. I know some other spirits are like, listen, maybe you should just ignore some of that, and also that sort of thing that says, hey, look. He's noted some of the darker perspective behind the scenes. We need to be able to have that let no happen without a certain kind of ripple effect kerfuffle happening, making it worse. All right. Yes. Well, okay. All right. Well, that is correct. And you don't know why. Because there's somebody who's doing way better than you. Ah, well. For Christ's sake. Is that what you are? No, I am not the Kobayashi Maru. Holy shiz. What was I smoking those days? The Kobayashi Maru, for freak's sake. I love that word. I always want to say Kobayashi Maroon. That's what they stare. That's it. You're the Kobayashi Maroon. It can't be Kobayashi. It has to be like, yeah, it has to be something different. Kobayashi Maroon. For freak's sake. Well, all right. Well, no, that's not it either. Well, that'd be why, because you don't always have this kind of fun, do you? No, not at times. It's always robotronic. All right, well, but there's nothing wrong with that. I like that. And you saying that somehow I don't want certain kind of perspectives to be in this process is not true. This is the case list. Look, some of it's battle, some of it's warfare, some of it's attack, some of it's not battle because some people are innocent. What do you call when certain kind of spirits attack other spirits that are just innocent and not like civilian citizens kind of stuff? Like, what do you call that? What do you consider? I know there's certain citizens and civilians that defend themselves, but when it looks to be like a certain kind of armed squadron attacking certain kind of unarmed civilians, what do you consider that to be? A battle? All right, like, where's that threshold? Where's that? Well, and then spiritually, if it looks another way, well, that's oh, I see. You know, okay, well, the live, there's a certain kind of factor in regards to the live, right? Right? Yes, exactly. You're all right. Well, all right, then fine. Yeah, well, all right, then. You don't know why. All right. Friggin' hell. All right, so talking about some of the stuff that's happened, and we already talked a bit about some stuff, different kinds of stuff taking place. You know why? Because I'm doing this. With what you guys needed. So we're going to skip over to the first. We'll go past the past 5 days. Not past the 5 days. We'll go past the past 5 days. There it is. Recovery circles, Alex. There it is. That's the truth of this. One of the things we talked about was informational placement, construction, and shielding. Recovery circles, therapy, therapists, psychology, psychologists, loop-based games that can give things in heaven. So this is a concept that I really love. It's this idea that in certain in front of the scenes dimensional existences, certain kind of games that you play, that what you do within them can lend towards earning loot in heaven and certain dimensional existences. And then when you pass on or when you go to those other places, that you'll see that, yeah, I was playing this really cool Halo game and I collected a bunch of different monetaries and things of that nature, and it's brilliant. I love that sort of stuff. And yeah, there's different kinds of economic structures that do that down here, I think, in regards to physical. I think there's certain dimensional existences that facilitate that sort of thing. I know there's different guides are adding for supplies and amenities in regards and the ways and means you guys need it. Well, all right, then fine. It's one of those things, you know, why? Because you're seeing what they're trying to do, and that's just the thing of this. You know, well, what exactly is it? It's what they've been trying to do. They've been trying to harm you. And that's the case of this. Is it? It's a mixed bag. Yeah, but it's a not mixed bag. So, no, it's not a mixed bag. All right, well, you don't know why, because that's what you need to do. You're like, is it not a mixed bag? That's how you respond from here on out until somebody probably tries to let you know not to. Not just tries to let you know. They let you know in a certain manner, certain context. Jesus. Look, there's good spirit in the mix. That's the culture that the spiritualist communities talk about is truth. But one of the things that some haven't been able to let know of is that there is similar things in regards to your own culture, in regards to a certain degree. For some of it, yes. We can even look towards certain kind of immoral culture and say that in a certain context, facilitation regarding that. So it's that sort of thing where we can facilitate certain kind of, well, I've talked about this a lot, I think. You don't know why. There's a lot of content with that let know on it. There's 20, 30, 40, 50 online physically. Yeah. All right. Physical earth based, but there's all the other spiritual information, the spiritual content too. Well, that's not all mine, but some of it might be. Some of it is. All right. Yes, some of it is. But you don't know why. Loot-based games that can give things in heaven, that can mean something when you get that loot in certain dimensional existences, utilization regarding for recovery and other purposes. So again, so there is those recovery programs in regards to gambling, which you still gamble in a certain sense, where you work through it in a certain way. It's just a bit of gambling a day, certain kind of moderation for some of it. Other stuff can be a certain kind of gambling, certain kind of thing, and I think that you work your way to that sort of thing that says, hey, I can do this daily and it doesn't have to impact my life to such a degree. where you can. And it's one of those things that says, hey, for some, it does matter. And I'm not trying to poach, good sir. All right, following that is correct, because that's another. Look, there's just some key stuff that should be around most processes on physical Earth based in regards to physical humans and others. I mean, Spirit Guides indicated, which says doctors, therapists, doctors, other dimensional, in regards to other dimensional, just in case. Like there's that sort of thing where we say like, oh, well, why can't we just call the brigade from down the street? I'm like, you can go that way, that works. There are ones like that, which actually might be the better route for some. But there is that sort of thing where it's like, if there is some kind of other dimensional incident, it's good to have a doctor in the process to just, boom, done, saved. And doctors are protected in a certain kind of sense. Of course they are. Jesus. All right, well, alrighty then. Holy, I don't know what to tell you. There is processes that exist where that hasn't been the case at times, and it needs to be understood that it should be the case. But we need to be realistic about it. We need to be able to know about it. We need to be able to speak about it. God forbid one of those processes meet up, and it's like, but at times, the doctor in my process hasn't been able to get over to the areas that he needs to because he's been attacked at times. So if there is that sort of spiritual difficulty, that needs to be understood, and it is certain dimensional existences, and it's not necessarily other dimensional existences to a certain degree. But I think we need to understand that there is good dimensional existences, there's bad dimensional existences, there's also ones in between, gray area, dimensional existences that exist, some in which are interacting with some of us down here on this physical planet Earth. All right, fine. Next day. What happened on the first? The first was we were still reeling from the day before. There was this day before moment where I had recorded a review content. And one of those big things talked about, one of the things we've already talked about to a certain extent, was that sort of thing that says recording, relaying of events, speaking on content experiences, conversing, talking about big lines, talking about defense works, not being blamed, but with emphasis in regards to relaying to a certain degree, and causing such a turbulence in the spirit, that sort of stuff that says you do a review content, that's what happened in your life regarding the past month, for a normal regular person on Earth based, that's one thing. But regarding, that sort of thing that says, hey, my process, it's a bit problematic at times because I do, informational placement, and some try to utilize that in a certain manner, and which is not necessarily what I'm going for. Some try to take it out of context. Some try to blame and utilize and say that that's the reason why, to a certain degree, in a certain manner, in a certain context, and it can be problematic. But there's also other things, certain kind of high story. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Yes, there's some high story here, but there's high story in multiple different kinds of processes. Regular processes. There's an awareness in knowing and seeing it in the physical. It's like you walk past it multiple times within your life. You'll see it, though. When you pass on in your life review, there is moments. That's another one in regards to near-death experiences, to facilitation in regards to certain kind of storyline, letting know of those themes that, you see this moment here and you see this moment, they were related. For a certain kind of guide in regards to near-death experiences, certain near-death experiences, upon review, life review, if possible, that sort of thing that can happen where we look at something and we see the themes within it that the story themes seen and pointed out. I think that could be a big one. I think that's a decent. I think that there's ones that have already been like that to a certain extent. Yeah. So yeah, we're still going on. There was this sort of thing where at times I'd create these review content, and by way of some of the relayings that I've done already on content experiences, relaying further. And again, it kind of did something which kind of gave more room into something, and it also sometimes caused this thing where I turn it off and it's just this certain energy, and everyone's just like, there's certain kind of energies and sometimes battle taking place, in a lot of saving, a lot of defense works, because that's one of the things that we talk about. We talk about battle. It's not supposed to be just this bad thing. I mean, that's the thing of it. There's this a kind of a stigma in regards to that you talk about conflict and battle, that somehow it's like, but really it's a little bit more than that. There's a lot of saving going on within the mix. There might be battles where nobody got harmed. There's those ones. That is the case of it. We talk about, that sort of thing that says that certain things are entertaining, and sometimes people like to see certain things take place. That's a part of some of it to a certain degree. I don't think I'm looking right here. I can't. Am I supposed to say it's not? I don't know. I don't think it is. I think we're okay. It is. In a certain manner. So it is one of those things that we can have that sort of stuff take place where it looks realistic, where it looks like there is a battle that takes place where nobody gets harmed, and that's one of them. Battle, Alex. Yes, those two. So gladiators, battle. Now you got two of them. That is always it. That was it. Those are two. Oh yes, the price. Yeah, this was the family matters. That sort of thing. Ding ding ding. This is the top 10. You got two. We maybe. All right. Depends on the one. All right. Well. Anyway. The second. Yeah, storyline utilization of spiritually and certain kind of spiritual in a manner in which is trying to harm, and which is different than those trying to defend and keep safe in a certain manner. It's also somewhat different than those in which have been utilizing certain spiritual systems as rehabilitation. And then there's a bunch of other ones. There must be like certain kind of spirit that are like, there's just multiple different kinds. Can we, and at what point, it's like, there is those ones that are like, yeah, but there's certain kind that believe in each one for some of them. But then there's those ones where it's just smoke and mirror direction, and to just cause, more, having to sort through and that sort of thing. And it's just way past due for something to happen in a good manner. All right, for some of it, yes, for some of it, that was the case of it. And you wouldn't be for that. That would not be what you say here, because that's how they're going to play this. They're going to do it this way. That's how they're going to do it, Alex. Because they said they can get you if you do it this way. That's what they said. Because then you go and do something. You go and do something stupid at times. It's not stupid, though, good sir, to a certain degree in regards to certain things. All right, fine. All right, yeah, well, you threw up, that was, you said the stuff you threw up? I don't know, maybe. I wanted to. I choose what means per guides indicated. But there's that sort of thing where I sort of noticed a certain kind of storyline about certain kind of spirituality, like that certain kind of spiritualist communities, that there is a certain kind of thing where, they're talking about what a lot of physical humans and other dimensionals experience when they pass on. They're letting know of a lot of different things in regards to psychics, other dimensional research, dreams, hypnotism, tarot card reading, soothsaying, and it is a thing. There is real spirit in regards to it, and sometimes it is fortune telling for some, but not always. Sometimes it's life reading, sometimes different things like that. And you think about life coaching, and within the confines of certain kinds of soothsaying, there is. Okay. What else? Well, yeah, that's also it, because that's why. Time, Alex. Oh, yeah. The understanding. So yeah, within the confines of this, I saw a certain kind of spiritual culture some trying to combine spiritual culture with other kinds too. And for some of it, it is decent. I do adhere, I do see. But some of it isn't. And that's one of those things that, they're people of spirit and authority, that means for God's indicated to have a handle on it. In a certain sense, I feel. I feel to a certain degree, but there is things, and when you see it, and you understand that there are certain things that exist to a certain extent, and, handling it in a certain kind of, with a certain kind of sense of realism, in reality as to what is taking place, so that we can confront it in a certain manner and deal with it and help. Because and if we need to be able to do it though in those ways at times that certain kind adhere to. And I only go so far. Mine is what means spirit guides indicated, and it's for that sort of thing that says, hey, someone still likes gambling, but would be willing to, not do certain things in regards to it. I mean, is one of those things. And again, there is certain things that you don't understand and know. Yes, well, to a certain extent, that is. That's why I said it would probably always exist. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to try and, but, is that what that is? Is that what that means? All right, well, you don't know why it is. You don't know why, because that's also it now. Because this was the case of this. We didn't go this way for a reason. Yeah. Oh shit. For freak's sake, you don't know why. There is certain kind, but there's a lot of nations that are good. There's a lot of banners that are decent, that they have saved and protected a lot of different people. It's just those certain lenses that are being created in certain processes where it doesn't look decent. I'm wondering what that's creating too. And some are like, oh, but the live dimensional didn't see it to a certain extent, but in a certain context, there is others who are seeing it in a certain manner, and it does matter. That sort of attack on concept, is that what that is? I don't know. I don't know if it is because, well, I don't know. Well, you don't know what, because you're looking something happen right now. You're seeing something take place. You don't think that stuff matters? That's what they're saying here. I'm asking for the safeguarding of what main spirit guides indicated, the way which guides indicated. Spiritual attacks throughout the light. I feel well, not throughout the light. I don't know if it was throughout the light, but I did write that down that way, sort of. I felt teeth knocked in impressions from other dimensional late last night. Some tried to maneuver a certain thing that was taking place, coming together of sorts, and some tried to get me to talk about big lines, but also in obscuring certain kinds of letting out the conversation, at least on my end. There were some utilizing the spiritual archetype for nefarious reasons as well. There are also been threats and strong army supposedly in regards to certain kind in going certain direction. And yeah, one of the things it's been let know, or at least talked about here, is somehow to do with spiritualist process. But it's not only. I think that we take a look at certain kind of sports. That was another one. I think to a certain degree. And yeah, no, that this was the case of this. I mean, there's certain moments where there's certain people are like, look, I'm not going to deal with this. Like, you can't expect someone to deal with it. And you can't expect people to go a certain direction on it, in a certain sense. And that's some of the stuff in regards to a certain degree. But, then again, I mean, does that mean, regardless of does that mean or not, I still say that where do we go now? Either way, I don't think I'm faulting people for going those sort of directions to a certain degree. There's some people who are like, listen, I don't want to have anything to do with certain kinds of events that my main spirit guides indicated to a certain extent. Not to an extent, it's what the main spirit guides indicated, if need be. All right, fine. But it's one of those where you take a look at certain processes, and I have noted that sort of thing spiritually in a certain sense. There will be moments where certain kind of people look the other way, or expressions of sort of looking the other way and trying to avoid certain kind of things spiritually in a certain manner. But there's also been let know of a lot of other things too, and I felt like from what I've seen so far, to a certain degree, I don't know, and I think that some people are trying to make a point of it in a certain sense. Since certain people emerged, it's been breaking people apart. Is that it? Maybe they needed more time. Wouldn't that be it? Alrighty then. They needed more time, Alex. That was the case of it. They needed more time. And hey, we talked about that soothsaying the other day. Anybody? Okay. Because that is what it says. That's it, even there, to a certain degree. But either way, though, even that, though, either way, I mean, at what point? I mean, we take a look at my process and others. I mean, you guys thinking what we're doing in front of the scenes to a certain extent. Is that the difference between? Is that what's breaking people apart? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, all right, fine. We want the direction that we want to go, and the direction that we are going. I don't know. I don't know if it is. Well, the direction that you want to go would. Well, we wouldn't have to worry about it in a certain sense for some of it. It'd be it. All right, well, we still do. You don't understand, because that would be over. That's what it would be. I want to. Well, what with the direction that we're going? All right, fine. Now, the direction that you're going, well, see, the direction you go, spiritually speaking, is what they say. Because there is a certain kind of lens in regards to certain kind of spirit looking at certain things and saying that, hey, breaking certain people apart in a certain sense. But what about those? Why is it that that's the case in regards to some of them? All right, fine. Well, no, multiple. All right, well, you can't talk about some of them. Well, all right, that would be correct, Alex. That's what's great about it. That's some of it can be abstract. I mean, forgot indicated. All right, fine. Well, that is correct. Speaking in abstract is awesome. You don't know why, because that's how they all said it. And you don't know what that's causing. What exactly is it? certain breaking apart, Alex. That was the thing of it. There was a large section that was just, he doesn't deserve to be attacked for it, and there's been some who have been. And those who are taking the hit, must have a pretty big case on their hands to a certain degree. Well, that would be why. How is it that this works out? Because nobody said, everyone's like, no. That was a case of this. Oh, on one hand, you have a group that is saying that the need for an excuse is killing certain kind, and on the other hand, you have a certain kind saying that what exactly is being done for the need of an excuse. I feel an employment of certain lines in which is taking the variable away pertaining to whether certain kind deserve to be attacked, and whether there is a need for reasonings and excuses. Myself and others, to I choose women I chose for us to choose in regards to this market application, etc. This is one of those ones, and you don't know why. You don't know why. I wouldn't. You don't know why. That's one of them. Well, that was it, though. That was the case of this. All right, yeah, that was. You don't know why. That is huge. And you don't know why. And that was also it. That's what I forgot about. For freak's sake. Wait a second. If that's what's being said, well, no. None of just that's what's being said. But for some of it, some of it, is true. Like I said, for some of it. Yeah, for some of it, yes. Voodoo. Thank you. I'm sorry. What the shit? I don't know what to tell you, but there was a certain kind of thing in regards to voodoo brought up. There was one day where it was like, it was brought up in a certain manner in the morning, and it was the spiritualist conference to a certain degree. And not conference, meetup. It was a meetup, to a certain degree. And I don't know why it was brought up. I did do advocations in regards to try and help. I think there's others who've done advocations because I looked at something and something there. It's scaring me a bit. Voodoo scares me, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, when you talk to other people about voodoo, it's like the earth-based phase. Which one you don't fuck with? And it's just there's multiple there. There is multiple. But you know what I'm talking about. For frick's sake, there is multiple. That is the answer. Does there need to be a day where you shake the rust upon writing and creating content? Yes. That's one of my writing things on there. Heavy breathing, switching something, spirit in other dimensionals, passing partially through hyperventilation, slower rhythmic. When I was young, I had an asthma attack when I was younger. And on this day, on the 3rd, I had a certain kind of heavy breathing issue where I felt like I had to heavy breathe, and I felt like I wasn't catching my breath, and I felt like there were certain kind of spirit in regards to me passing on. Some potentially dying, some potentially moving on, going to some other place. A certain kind of switching of infrastructure. And yeah, I don't know what the hell to say about this. I go with what we first indicated. That's what you should say. That's what they said. I hope that I'm rich. I hope that I'm rich. That's what we said. Who the hell won? Oh yeah, there is. You'll see why. There is something about it. Well, no, I'm going with what this guy said. I think there is. There is. Friggin' hell. All right, yeah, don't. That's not funny. And other things that happened, asking if some have seen some big things on this planet at times, or certain times, or saying like if there were big events, some of which off of some passing on. Like I looked at it and I kind of thought like, okay, so this is one of them. This is one of those ones that was a big one let know, and it shifted something. I don't know what that meant or why it was given or whatever it is, but that was the thing of this. That's what they say. Because that's the case of it. And that's the truth. Those let knows they're damaging and harming people. I and others from Spirit Guides are asking for what means for guys negated regarding the ones that means guys negated, of course, smart application, etc. Performance guys, means guys negated. All right, then, fine. Because that was the case list. That is the truth. And I do want let knows, but if it's going to be harming people, I'm not trying to harm people by writing it down, but I receive things from the Spirit. I don't know what to tell you, and I know it's a bit of a different situation, but I do feel that way in a certain sense. All okay, correct. because you've gotten more than most. This is the case of this, yeah, to a certain degree. Channeling, here and there is things. Yes, there is things, but thoughts that's another one. That's be why. That's the keep trying to do, Alex. Situate something good that happened when they was supposedly let know, because if it wasn't good, then that's the case of this. All right, then fine. Holy smoke. Okay, that was the case. That's what they're saying. What are you doing behind the scenes, whoever it is? If those mean spirit guides indicated, all right, fine. Well, we're trying to. You don't know why. Guys, you'll see why. You know what it means. And I'm not there. Well, somebody else is. So you got to get his quality of life to be what it needs to be in the ways that mean spirit guides indicate, so that doesn't happen. All right. Well, that was what you said. All right, well, that's the case of it. He was looking at it from what? Multiple perspectives. Yeah, your insinuation is that God spark, going all over the place to a certain degree. All right, fine. All right, then fine. Aspects of soul breaking apart? Yeah, to a certain extent. Different. It's not God spark splitting per se, but what? Perspectives? Other things? They matter too. All right, yeah. Yeah, you know what? That is true. Perspectives have been treated like crap at times, as I've seen in this process, to a certain degree. That's how I feel. All right, fine. Yeah, to a certain extent. Writer's block and spirit creating blocks for others in a literal, other dimensional sort of way through us. How you treat certain kind of potential being the ones who dictate certain kinds of events later on. You've been that person. They didn't want to do something. Yeah, so other things. This one had to do with, well, you don't know why. Also, those big things that happen, let knows. I sort of looked at it. I'm like, there was this idea that's like, okay, when you pass on, Alex, how are you supposed to, gather all those God spark and the aspects, perspectives that you want to, in a certain sense, in regards to what what you indicated to your main spirit guides in the original light or in the light. How are you supposed to do that? If there's continued this continued mentality put on me, and not my own mentality. Well, it's a certain kind of energy. No, my mentality. No, a certain energy that's put on me that says that that's not going to be achievable. And when I've been saying every damn day that it is achievable to a certain degree, with my out loud physical voice. Well, that does. All right, it does. You don't know why. But there's that sort of thing where I've sort of wondered, I'm like, wait a second, have we seen miracles take place? Certain kind who passed on in this life, in regards to some of the incarnations on Earth, physically, other dimensionally, a bunch of different ones. And then I sort of thought of them, like, okay, so why can't it take place? Sorry, I don't mean to upset. People were making fun of it. And I thought of it in regards to myself, and in regards to some of it, it makes sense. In regards to some of it, all right, then fine. And there was also this sort of thing that said that a utilization regarding, in regards to the power of me passing on and other kinds in the past and in the future, and that sort of thing. Yeah, well, I'm living my life now. Or, you know what? That's correct of it. You don't know why, because they say that you might have used a big one already. A big one already? So, but what about that sort of thing that says to save? Well, all right. Well, look, I'm not saying not to save with it. Saving's decent, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm speaking on. That sort of thing that says that, like, hey, we get given like $500,000 for something that happened, but then that something that happened, we had to save a bunch of people with that goddamn money. But for shit's sake, that is unfair. You know what I'm talking about. All right, is it about the money, Alex? No, it is not. It's about, well, but imagine, think if it's not money. Think if it's not money, it's a certain kind of power you were given in a certain kind of sense because of the power within your life. But then certain kind created certain moments for you to save a bunch of people, utilize that power regarding, and then what then? All right, okay, correct. It's specifically, when I'm specifically talking about things that are supposed to be coming with me anyway, for some of it, anyhow. All right, yeah, like literally, like legally for some of it. All righty then. You know what? Because that was also it. You don't know what happened here. This is the case of this. I don't even know what to say. That's just the case. because there's a guy who is having a difficult day, Alex, and you need to be able to situate him. I've already done advocations in regards to some. That means spirit guides indicated. What do you want from me? I'm advocating for what means spirit guides indicating in regards to smart education, etc. Whammies for guys need the whammies guys. I and others from spirit guides are asking for what those spirit guides indicated requested. The way those spirit guides indicated requested with spirit guides information in regards to smart education, etc. Found spirit guides taking precedence. The way spirit guides indicated. All right, well, that would be why. That would be correct. That's what you did. Certain kind of spirit that got cut out of something or something like that, something bad happened where he's just certain kind or they're looking at like fire, like not fireworks, but like, well, to a certain degree for some of it, it's not explosions necessarily, right? Like imagine there's a grouping of spirit and they break apart and they go all over like in certain areas on Earth. You know, a certain process where there's a couple spirit that show up and it's like, what are you doing here? Like, that's where we landed. Well, whatever. Does it really work that way in regards to some dimensions like this? In regards to others, no. And that's the case of it. All right, fine. You don't know why. You don't know why, because you saved a bunch of people. Son of a gun. And that was one of them. That was one of the let-nos. That was a big one. That sort of thing. It says like, that those are big ones. You don't know why they're being given right now, Alex, because they're screw. So who's getting attacked in regards to some of this stuff? Well, I think that was correct. You have no clue what happened. This is the case of this. That's what they say. You don't know why. If that's the case, then this is over. To a certain degree, well, that was the problem with it. Saying in regards to what spirit guides indicated. You don't know why. Now, ain't that clarification decent now, eh? Hey, you don't know why it works that way. You don't know why, because you looked at something and you said, is this the case of this? You don't know why it is. You don't know why, because somebody else is going to get beaten down to a certain extent. Or correct. You don't know why. You don't know why. That was also, it depends on what it is. Look, I'm advocating for clarifications in regards to that. I don't mean to be upsetting, but seriously. Oh, okay, correct. You don't know why. That's not yours, Alex. It's somebody else's. I don't want to name names. That's how I feel about it. Let's keep moving. I'm asking for clarifications if need be. To be displayed women's just need the women's just need. Okay, correct. That's what we did. It's just a bit. That's what it says. You know why? Because you do view it a certain fashion. Yeah, I do view it a certain fashion. The women's spirit guides indicated for a reason. Are correct. Well, all right, you don't know why. Because you don't want to be going after some people here. I'm not going after anybody. I'm sitting here having a content experience, man. Freaking heck. For having a content experience, I'm recording content. It can be considered content experience to a certain extent. Anyway, the 4th was nutso. I don't know what the hell was going on this day. This day, they brought up a storyline of Federation of Planets. They brought up, a certain kind of storylines like that in a certain manner. So was this one of those things where they were trying to send certain people that way? Look, I and others from spirit guides are requesting those spirit guides needed to do what spirit guides indicated. Okay, so there is people dealing with it. Jesus. So this is the case. What? I don't know why. You would be. You'd be pissed off here. This is what you said. You don't know why. You just need to leave this process. You need to go away. All right, you don't know why. Guys, that's just it. It's communication. Well, that'd be why. And who's doing this? Well, you don't know why it's working this way. That's what they say. Look, get out of my way. You need to get this for free. Well, that's how I feel. All right, then fine. You don't know why it is. Well, that would be why. That's the case of it. I was playing Halo, and there was just multiple things taking place. First off the get-go, I was going to go out into town. And right in the morning when I was going through it, there was just a certain spirit that came around me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go outside. I don't feel like going for a walk right now. And this is the case list. All right, so on my end, I was just pissed off and didn't go. But behind the scenes, spiritually, in regards to myself, it might be a different story. All right, then fine. And there's just this subtle feng shui these days where it's just like certain kind of like letting know of certain things that they're doing, like in a nonchalant sort of way, and like, oh, it's like, oh, we told you, and that's the thing with this. What exactly is that? Is that some people are just like, oh, we're going to attack you behind the scenes, and that's the case. It doesn't mean that it's acceptable to a certain extent. Not for me, not for in regards to attacking me and others. I mean, Spirit Guide's going to get hell no. All right. Well, all right, then fine. That's what he said. So there's just a bunch of things like that happening too. And it's been, there was a moment there again. We're in this process today specifically, when I got back from my walk today, because I did go into town today, and actually I was going to go into town early in the morning. At 12 a.m. I was gonna, I was thinking about it hard. I even did some contemplation in regards to going to it too, towards certain kind of call words, like as if like imagining me going to it in a certain sense to create a certain kind of access point in a certain kind of manner. True, to a certain extent, certain kind of contemplation. What I've called contemplation, utilized in regards to call words, can be decent. And yeah, we should understand if some of those mechanisms are being utilized in a negative fashion. Sure, in a certain context, in ways that I've indicated. All right, then fine, that would be why. So yeah, didn't end up going over there, and I kind of got a little bit upset. They tried doing those harassing, argumentative tactics, getting me angry a bit, and we started arguing at times. I don't know if it was arguing. Some of it's defense. There were certain spirits, like letting know that they're attacking me in a certain manner. I'm like, okay, well, stop attacking me. Like some of it's advocation work. Some of it's arguing about certain points again, that sort of thing. Some of the points, some of the main ones, man. You don't argue about the one in regards to facilitation. You don't argue on that one. You argue about the top one. Is what you've been arguing to a certain degree. That one that says the aspect of God that can save almost all that is instantaneously, but it chooses not to because it's going a certain direction. Yeah, that's the one I get upset at. I'm like, you can save everybody, so why don't you? And there's a bunch of reasonings, and I know there is. I'm going to see, I'm like, okay, I see some of it. I actually like some of it, but there's still that sort of thing that says we're below, some of us are below certain thresholds, getting attacked at times spiritually and not bearing the decent of this direction. And all right, fine. You don't know why. That's what it says. Yeah, well, it's one of those things that people talk about. You need to understand that. All right, fine. You don't know why. This is just the case of that would be why. Okay, fine then. Okay, then this is over. If this was me, then this is done. Certain kind of perspective, potentially other dimensional self, potentially all personal, in which some bring over here and then said that, in a certain context. Look, I don't know what to tell you. I know what to tell you. I choose what means for a guy. I and others told me to choose what means for guys. Chose for us to choose in regards to smart education. And light sending that means guys need around those that means guys need displays what means for guides. The way means for guides indicated in the light. All right, fine. Yes, good for you. All right, and fine. That's just how I feel about it. And then throughout the day they were angry at me because I had I defended myself. I defended certain kind of lines. I talked about certain things. And, there was also this remembrance, though, the day before where I had said something where, certain spirit came to me and said that, oh, yeah, but you should never feel that way in regards to some of your informational creation, in regards to something you've created physically and physical, digital, and the other dimensional. Pertaining to those, that means Spirit Guide indicated. In regards to that sort of thing, you shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't feel harassed about it or you shouldn't feel like it's one of those. You don't know why. You don't know why. Because they said that you got angry one day. They said there's a storyline where I got angry about something. All right. That's what they've been trying to feng shui. I don't know feng shui, but I don't know if it's true or not. Oh, Alex, you don't know if it's true or not. You don't know what kind of stuff they did in certain dimensional existences. Look, I am one of those people who do look at myself in a certain context. You do realize that, right? All right. I look at myself in the ways that mean Spirit Guide's indicating the light. So when I combine with Spirit, I consider, I consider it to be what means Spirit Guide's indicating, depending on the spirit itself. All right, fine. So there's a storyline as well where, like, somehow I got angry in a certain kind of manner because of some of the stuff that they supposedly did to me at times. And this is the kicker. It wasn't in regards to this life. All right, okay, correct. That's what they're saying here. That's what they're saying. But be careful because it might not be. And it might not be one of those. It might be one of those. All right, no. Well, okay, yeah. Well, that's the thing of this. That was the thing of it. Thank you. Because they're trying to say that somehow I'm someone. If I'm not that spirit, again, I'm potentially being affected by it. Okay, all right, yeah. Well, what if you are? That's what they said. It's in a certain context. So we're talking about like old God spark in a certain other dimensional that like got angry and then just broke apart. That I was potentially a part of. All right, well that's what they're saying now, Alex. You don't know why. Yeah, well, you always have that look. Well, but whatever. Well, that is correct. You are one of those people. Your gold lust is not good. I don't know if it is. It could be true. I don't know. That's how I feel about it, though. You don't know why. All right. Yeah, that's what you said. Something about it. Well, that's what they said. Something there. Anyway, I and others Women's Spirit Guides are advocating for what Women's Spirit Guides indicated for us to advocate in regards to smart education, etc. Departments of guides. Women's guys needed light and setting that Women's Spirit Guides needed. Do what Women's guys needed in regards to smart education, etc. Women's guys needed. All right, fine. You don't know why. You don't think it includes that? Of course it does. Okay, well then that would be why, Alex. You don't think there's a ripple effect safety in regards to some of it? We see some spirit come over here. Is like that's the thing of it. All right, then fine. I think one of the things that they realized in this process is that too much focus and attention in regards to this process, to a certain degree. I think that that's what some of it was, to a certain extent. Like people said, I was a smoke. What some said it was a bait. Some said it was a smoke and mirrors. Though, all right, fine, that is correct. You don't know why, because this process is changing at times, and I know there's from you guys are having people let know that it's not necessarily a bad thing, and that those that mean spirit guides indicated shouldn't be attacked in regards to it. All right, fine. Because that was just a case of this. You don't know why. That's the case of it. That's what they say. You know why? Because that's how it looks here. There's some spiritual stuff taking place right now. I don't know what to tell you. Well, that was why. You like smog. True. Oh, the smog, like SMAUG. I'm a fan. Although he scares the shit out of me, not gonna lie. That is one of them. Oh. That's what you said. Something about it. A certain way in regards to pertaining to certain variable, especially pertaining to informational creation, but rather the farther I am creating. Yeah, this is today. And today's been interesting. There was a lot of storylines yesterday. One of them had to do with a lot of let knows too. Other dimensional, there was another dimensional infrastructure that was impacted. I already let know of that. All right, fine. And near the end, I changed my process. There was a moment where it kind of like felt like, God, you know, I hate my life right now at times. And it sort of changed just on talking about movies, talking about my love of movies. And just brought up some of the movies, talked about it. I put on a content experience in the other room that I didn't watch for the first episode. Halfway through the second one, I decided to walk in and watch the rest of it. And I put on another movie afterwards. And that movie, I put on that movie out of love, I think, out of love of the film that I was putting on to be true. And I loved throughout it. There's been certain days where I loved it. It's the third I loved it all day. Yesterday I loved a bit, about a couple hours. Today I haven't loved too much, so maybe that's what I should focus on when I turn this content experience off. This content recording off, to a certain degree. And yeah, some of the conversations that I'm in with the spirit is it's a free flowing conversation, and then insinuations and hints of certain things that are taking place, or kind of storylines in life, certain kind of events that are taking place. And sometimes it's difficult to relay all of them. One of them had to do with going into town again today, and the one the day before, one on the 4th, yesterday, was about certain kind of good things potentially taking place. And I don't know if it is. There is certain kind of thing that they're trying to do here, is they're trying to get a certain kind of upset and angry to harm them. And then they're trying to hook me up to some of it and others that mean spirit guides to get to experience some of the stuff behind the scenes. As a psychic medium, I am feeling certain kind of anger, like upsetness, kind of pressure in a certain kind of manner, in a certain context. Or, okay, fine then. So this is all this is then, Alex. You don't know why, but you don't understand how it works for some, but that's exactly it. They're not of your God's person. Then why are they on my infrastructure then? All right, to a certain degree for some of it. But that's also it. If I still experience it, don't you get it? Okay, cool. Well, that would be why, Alex, the way you viewed it. Isn't that how it is? No, it's just this portion here, except that is what I'm experiencing to a certain degree, am I not? Oh, because the way he's feeling it is well, is he? You're trying to give me high blood pressure. This is what I kind of feel like. It kind of feels like that. My eyes are a little bit like, I don't know what to tell you. This is just, it's absurd at times. It really is. I don't even know some of it, man. Yeah, I watched that content yesterday, and there was so much. It was just really good. It was really good. Worked on love throughout the whole film. It was just a really good film. That's just it. It was really good experiences. Some of that stuff's difficult to describe in regards to the story themes they're seeing, the metaphoricals, the symbolism, the certain kind of interaction. It's really amazing. It really is. Because you don't know why. Because that's what you said. That's what we said here. You don't know why. It's how we all. How do you feel that way? Seriously. Because he still can look at it from that perspective, and that was always it. You don't know why. That's just it. Well, yeah, one of the things about it, well, this one's crumb too, Alex. You wouldn't care about that stuff. I haven't been caring about that stuff. True. For some of it. I cared about it, but I have maintained a certain kind of thing that says, you know what, I write down information, I let know of information. I'm not trying to harm with it. I'm trying to live my life. All right, fine. And one of the things I wanted to explain was that sort of thing that says that, hey, there supposedly is deployment from my life. Now, there still needs to be deployment to a certain degree when I pass on. Because there's that sort of stuff that says, hey, remember that stuff that says we weren't supposed to touch this sort of thing because it's for the future? Okay, correct. Regardless, when we get to those points, if we don't have enough to be able to survive and thrive and be able to, have a quality of life, what is that considered? We're just supposed to just say, oh, well, they used it in those moments to survive, thrive, and have a quality of life. Why did they need it in those moments? So, all right, fine. You don't know why it is. Anyway, there is. And it's one of those things I should always remember because some are saying like, oh, but what, are you just going to take up your God spark and go? Is that it? And I was like, well, no, I want deployment on it. But then some brought up this sort of idea that, wait a second, you have a bunch of different infrastructure that's being utilized in a certain fashion. You have a bunch of different deployments that happen, energy placements, all kinds of different things, some of which got thieved, and Earthbase looks around and says, hey, well, for some of it, alrighty then, you don't know why. And then there's these trade-offs that are like, look, Bob, I do like this currency, it's decent, but I don't know what to tell you. We still need what was taken for some of it, and not so for others. Okay, fine. You don't know why. And I and others, for Spirit Guides, authorize what Spirit Guides chose for us to authorize in regards to smart education, etc. Spirit Guides, and Guides needed. You don't know why. Because that was it. Yeah, birth, the power of birth. Well, that's one of them. And there's some people on my birth that are like, because they said there was spiritual battle when I was born in a certain sense. I'm wondering if it was just like, can't we make it that where it's like a duel? All right, yeah. So like, well, I'm going with what Spirit Guides indicated. Well, then that would be why then. If we go that way and they don't listen, then what? All righty then. Anyway, I and others, Department of Spirit Guides, are advocating for what Spirit Guides chose for us to advocate in regards to smart education, etc. Department of Spirit Guides, the way Spirit Guides indicated. All right then, Alex. So if you are this guy, this is over. This is done. I love how they refer to it. This guy, if he was this guy, this is over. This, if it was a compatriot sort of viewpoint beforehand, and this guy's a hero, and all right, whatever. And now it's just this guy, well, whatever then. I love the look. I really, no, I do. I love the look. That's the case of it. It is. It's brilliant. All right, whatever then. Whatever. It's like, all right, well, thank you. Oh my God, some people got it. You don't know why. Another thing they affected was the crowd. They moved the crowd the past 2-3 days away somewhere else, or not away, but desensitized it to seem like it was away or somehow. And they're also continuing to try and say that certain physicals on the physical planet Earth don't know some of the happenings and some of the processes on physical Earth based in a certain manner. Well, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't mean to be annoying. All right, well, that is correct. That is correct.